Hey guys, welcome back to Jowers Technology Solutions. I hope everybody's had a good week. My week's been eventful / uneventful, and give and take a little bit. So today I'm going to go ahead and do my pen testing video with vulnerability scanning. So I've already done videos on for legal stuff. I've done it on OSINT, and I've done it on network scanning and enumeration. So today, the vulnerability scanning, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there that vulnerability scanning is very important on red team and blue team. Red team, it allows you to find holes that you can possibly exploit, and for blue team, it provides the same holes that you can find a patch, because you don't want to have holes in your network. So we're going to go over the basic premise of what it's about. And so what is vulnerability scanning? This is kind of my definition of it. Using tools such as Openvos, Wazoo vulnerability scanner, Nessus, or etc. to find holes or vulnerabilities in systems and or software that can be exploited by an adversary. And then how do I find vulnerabilities on my system or network? Again, you can download the free or open source vulnerability scanner such as Openvos or Wazoo vulnerability scanner, or you can use paid tools such as Nessus for the same goal. And Nessus also has a I think it's got a free version where you can scan up to 16 IPs or something like that, but then if you go more than that, you have to pay for it. Alright, and then last but not least, once I find the vulnerability, what do I do about it? So you have basically three options. You can choose to leave the vulnerability there, which is a bad idea. And I'm going to caveat off that a little bit. So let's do an example. Okay, let's say you're a tax office, and let's say that QuickBooks has a vulnerability in it. Well, QuickBooks is the main driving force for that business, because they have to do taxes and they have to do financial stuff or whatever. So let's say that that has a vulnerability in it, but you can't get rid of that software because you use it every day. So in that case, you would do something like you would surround it with other tools such as Wazoo or Security Onion or something like that, some way to monitor it, so that if an adversary gets on that box somehow, or they try to exploit that, at least you can see some logs or something of that nature to know what's going on. Somebody can't just break in there, exploit it and steal stuff or whatever. You have some form of logging and or visibility into that. Okay, and that's what I've done before. I've had customers with systems or software that they had to have it, and so the next best thing is to make sure their antivirus is good to go, make sure everything else is up to date, make sure you have some form of logging on there, whether it's some Windows logs or whatever kind of alerts you can do, that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind if you ever run into that situation. Now you can choose to update the system, service, or software in hopes that the vulnerability has been remediated by the update from the developer. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So that's the whole point of software updates, is if you have a vulnerability in there, then you can either report it to the developer, or the developer might find it themselves. That's another reason of having the bug bounty programs. A lot of companies have bug bounty programs where they pay people however much money to go in there and find the bug for them, or the hole for them, and they can go ahead and create a patch and then send it out to everybody that has the software. So that's another way to do it. And last but not least, you can choose to replace the system, service, or software with one that doesn't have the vulnerability, or if it's not an essential asset to your daily business task, simply remove it. And so it kind of speaks for itself. So if there's no patch or remediation for that vulnerable software, then find another piece of software that might do the same task but doesn't have that same vulnerability. Or if you don't need it, just get rid of it. A good example of that is I had a customer the other day that had some software on their computer, and that software was used for, I think, downloading videos or something like that. Well, apparently she doesn't use it anymore, so I just simply took it off. And now I'm not going to say that I did any vulnerability scanning on it, but all the same, if you don't have, as a general security practice, if you have services or software that you don't use ever, then there's no reason to have it on your computer, in my opinion. So anyway, that's the general premise of what vulnerability scanning is for the purpose of this video. And I know I said that this is for pen testing, and it is. But I just wanted to let everybody know the general premise of vulnerability scanning is saying, hey, there's holes here, so let's patch them, or hey, there's holes here, so let's exploit them. So anyway, we're going to continue on from there. So what I'm going to do is point out also the National Vulnerability Database. You can come here to look for vulnerabilities that are possibly in software that you might have, and also the the common vulnerabilities and exposures. And so also keep in mind some of those tools that I'm going to mention here, they automatically pull from these databases. So that's something that you can look into if you want to at some point. And so let's go ahead and push forward with the actual tools so that I can show you what they're about and how to use them. So we're going to come over here to the next piece and type in the address for Wazoo. So for those that haven't looked at my Wazoo video, please go and take a look at it. It is a little bit outdated, more or less, and I say outdated because they've already come up with newer versions of it. So all you have to do is either upgrade, if you're using Windows or Linux or whatever, upgrade to the newer versions, or you can just do a complete rebuild of whatever server or host you have hosting it, and then you can just pull your logs over from there to the new one. Anyway, so check out that and let me know if you like it. But anyway, we're going to get into our Wazoo box here, and then we're going to click on the menu or the little 3 lines, and then go down to Wazoo. Takes a minute to load. Alright, and so I've kind of sort of gone over the security events and the MITRE ATT&CK stuff, but in order to stay on point with this, we're going to go jump straight into the vulnerabilities. And this is a nice pretty dashboard. Everybody loves dashboards, except for there's not, because I got to change the time frame. So you can customize your time frame, and I'll kind of go over that in a moment. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and drop this down and hit the last 7 days. And you can see here that the vulnerability scanner runs every so often. So right here it ran on the 5th, it ran again between the 6th and 7th. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight a piece of this and look into it. So this right here is going from January 5th to January 7th, okay? And then here's your list of hosts right here. Here's the hosts that have agents on them that you should have installed. And then here's the different levels of vulnerabilities. Of course, you want to make sure you take care of your criticals and your highs first. And then here's the different common CVEs. So this is pulling this from that database we were talking about. And then here's the packages that are being affected. So right here we have Windows Server 2012 R2. So that's probably my lab server that has that issue. And then we have Ruby issues, which is probably the actual Wazoo itself. And then there's more information here you can look into if you want to. What I'm going to focus on right now is let's say we want to look at the critical vulnerabilities. So I'm going to click on that and then click the plus sign. That's going to filter out everything except for the criticals. So right here we have 108 criticals. And so what you can do here, and actually, so if there was criticals on multiple devices or hosts, it would have them listed here. But right now we only have criticals on the lab server. So let's go ahead and click events on that. And what you can do here is go down this list and basically figure out what you need to remediate. And some of them can be duplicates because, like I said, depending on your scan interval for vulnerabilities, you may have in a case where the same vulnerability is popping up twice or multiple times because you haven't remediated yet. So what you can do is you can come up here to this little timeline and kind of pick one, and then that will break it down. So in any given, just remember, in any given time period, you can click on a given time frame, and it should have basically the vulnerabilities you're looking for. So right here, it's got 18 hits. And so what I would do is I would come down here and I would click on the arrow, and then right here, this is all the information that Wazoo would provide. And what you would do is come down here, and then here's the actual vulnerability title. And so you can come in here and you can look, okay, so there's something with the net logon message is able to obtain. So I'm not going to get deep into the vulnerabilities themselves because that would take a long time. This video would be a very long video for that. But what you can do, so you can look at the title, you can look at the severity of which is critical, and you can also follow the reference URLs. So you can go to these URLs and you can look and research what is actually needed to be done to resolve this vulnerability. And then right here it says basically this package is not installed. So I'm not going to say 100% that because you install that package is going to fix it. It's just a possible way to fix it. So just keep that in mind as you go. And so this is the way you would basically look up the vulnerabilities under Wazoo anyway. And then if you want to go back to your regular screen, you would click Dashboard. And then if you want to filter out back to everything, then you would just click on the X button for to knock off the critical and bring back everything. So as you go, this is where you would come to do all this stuff, and this is where you would come to look it up and figure out how to fix it. All right, and then I'm also going to point out to you how to configure this, because by default, Wazoo does not turn on the vulnerability scanner. let's go ahead and log into that real quick. Alright, and I'm going to blow this up. Alright, hit up arrow. So this is where you would go to configure your Wazoo manager under var osec etc osec.conf. And then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the vulnerability. So again, if you watch my Wazoo video, then you've seen this before, but I'm just going to stick to the vulnerability piece. Alright, so normally, like I said, by default, this is actually says no, and so I'll change that to yes. And then the interval is usually 5 minutes. I don't know why it's 5 minutes, because if you do a vulnerability scan and then another one initiates, it's got a 6-hour wait time, or ignore time in this case. And so what I did was I changed this to every 7 days, because I have Slack alerts set up for my vulnerabilities, and so I don't want to get alerts every 6 hours for the same vulnerabilities, because I haven't had a chance to patch them. Just keep that in mind if you decide to set this up. And then another piece of this is where it pulls it from. So it's pulling provider names, it's pulling from Canonical. I turned that on. So all these are off by default, so I turned them to yes. It pulls it from Debian, it pulls it from Red Hat. And right here is a interesting little thing. So it's updating from 2010 all the way up to present time. And then update intervals every 1 hour. And then here's that thing we were looking at a second ago with the NVD. So it's pulling from that as well. And once again, update from year so-and-so, update interval is 1 hour. Alright, so this is the basic way to do Wazoo with vulnerability scanning. And again, for Wazoo, you would have to have a server set up with Wazoo installed on it, along with Elasticsearch and Kibana and FileBeat. And then you have to go install the agent, whether it be a Windows agent or a Linux agent, onto whatever host that you want to be monitoring, and then you have to point it back to your server. So keep that in mind, that this takes a little bit of time to build and to process and to get it going, but it's very well worth it in my opinion. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and exit out of this. And I'm going to skip over to my Kali Linux box. And I'm going to show you the other one that we use, which is Openvos. So I've already ran through this setup, but I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show it to y'all so that y'all can see how it works. And I'm going to pull this notepad over here that I have. Oh, never mind, there it is right there. So here's the basic instructions on how to download Openvos and then get it running. So right here, you do apt-get update, apt-get upgrade, and then you install JVM. And then once it's done, oh, what's in there? Once it's done downloading everything, then you run GVM setup, which is going to take a while because it's got to set everything up. It's got to go in there and it's got to download all the database information and whatnot. After it gets set up, you would do GVM start. Okay, and then another thing I want to skip over. After it's done with the setup, it's going to give you a the default username is admin, and it's going to give you the string of characters for a password. And so you're going to copy that, which I'm going to show you in a moment. I hope it's still in there. And then you're going to do GVM start, so it starts the actual Openvos setup. And then you're going to go to this URL right here. I'm going to open this up. Hey guys, I had to fix the video, but anyway, so we're going to push on from here. So the first thing you're going to do is do a sudo, or not sudo, sorry, you're going to do a systemctl status, and then you're going to type out greenbone security assistant. And this is basically going to tell you whether or not greenbone, the Openvos is running. So in this case it is. And as you can see in the background, I already have it in a browser. So normally you have to go to the HTTPS 127.0.0.1, and then the port is 9392, and then that will bring you. It'll pop up the little thing about warning you might not be a safe website. Go ahead and go to it anyway, and then right here you're going to type in admin. So in that setup, you should have gotten a key, and so I'm going to go back and grab that key really quick. And after you do that, let's see here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cat it out. And so after you do the initial setup, I think I explained it before, but anyway, if you do the actual setup, then you'll get this key. So you go ahead and grab that key initially, and then I happen to put it in a text file. So we're going to go ahead and copy that, and then I'm going to do this and paste it in there. And so I already did a scan, but I'm just going to go ahead and push through it anyway so I can show you what happened. So this is going to be your initial, what you log into and what you're going to see. The first thing you should do is go to configuration, I'm sorry, administration and users. And then for some odd reason, I couldn't change. I'm not sure why you can't change the default admin. So I lost my password before. So what I did here is I went ahead and just added a secondary admin account, and then I made my own password up. So with that being said, what you would do is come here to scans and then tasks. And then I already created one for my firewall scan, and then I will go to the results in just a moment. So what I did was I went to task, and then I hit new task, and then this is what you'll do. You can name it if you want to, and then it has a pre-made list that you would create, which I'll go ahead and do. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the entire subnet for my lab network, and so we're gonna say lab range, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do my entire Class C subnet. Oh, mistype. All right, then you just click save. And then one thing I'll mention here, I'm not going to save it again, but one thing I'll mention is that you can do a credentialed scan, so you can plug in whatever login credentials you have for SSH. You know, it's got the same thing for SNMP or ESXi or Windows right there. So I mean, if you want to do that, you can, and maybe some later time we'll do that. But for the purpose of getting this video pushed through, I'm going to go ahead and skip that for now. So I'm going to hit cancel on that, and it's going to take me back to this, and I'm going to say lab range scan. And then that's my predefined target. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and it's going to create the new scan right here. So what you can do from here is you can go ahead and say play. And so that it takes a minute for it to get started and to go ahead and start running. And so what that's doing is that's going to go ahead and scan your entire Class C subnet mask. And so for the purpose of keeping this not super long, I'm going to go ahead and go to results because I already did a firewall scan. So let's go to that. So scans and then results. Alright, so this is the result of just my firewall. And right now, as you can see, we only have one medium and one low. And so let's go over the medium really quick, because you can look at the log, the log level ones and the low level ones. So I would say you need to cover down on the critical, the high, and the medium most. If you want to go back and do the lows, then that's fine. But the most important thing is covering down those other three categories. So in this case, you see SSH weak encryption algorithm supported. So what this is saying is that the SSH config on the firewall is using weak encryption ciphers. So you can go in there, you can customize it, you can take out any ciphers that are or any encryption algorithms that are not strong enough, or that are deprecated or out of date, or things that have been cracked easier these days. So keep that in mind whenever you're going through this stuff, because if you're running Linux-based stuff and you have SSH open or port 22 open and you haven't configured it, then that's what's going to happen. It's going to pop it. And then what I like about this is you can come in here and it says detection result. The following week, client to server encryption algorithms are supported by the remote service. And so what it's saying is, hey, I found this. Can you go and make it better? Change it so that you're using a stronger encryption method. And that's all it's really saying. And so that's what I do like about this, is you can go in here and it will tell you what to do, more or less. But anyway, guys, so that's all I'm going to add to this video. Like I said, I got messed up on, I think it was Friday, and then I was busy this weekend, so I had to come back and add this ending to it. But anyway, guys, I really do appreciate y'all watching this video. I hope it's very helpful. Please subscribe to my channel, like it, and share it if you want to. And like I said near the beginning, or maybe the middle of the video, that this is super important. If you get if you get an adversary in your network, and even if they don't get in, at least you can close the doors on the systems that are there. You can, even if they somehow get in, you can at least make it where they can't break into other things. So just keep that. That's one reason why I do internal firewall. So you have your edge firewall where it's connected directly to the internet, and then you have internal firewalls that you can put other systems behind. So just keep that in mind as you're doing vulnerability scanning, as you're setting up a network in general. But anyway, guys, again, thank you all very, very much for the support. Appreciate it, and y'all have a good night. Thank you.